Hello, ECF. Hope you're well. And as we draw to the end of this year and as we come to this festive season, I hope the Psalms have just been a wonderful joy to you and you've grown in the Lord and grown in knowledge of Him. And we come to our penultimate week. And today I'm going to focus on one specific Psalm. In fact, it's probably one of my favorite Psalms, one of the very first Psalms that I read, Psalm 139. Now, part of the reason I loved it when I was growing up and reading this, it was just the idea of I was into superheroes. And then you read Psalm 139 and you just realize how great our God, who in fact is real, not like the fake superheroes, how great our God is and how phenomenal His character is and how He is just beyond all. And so Psalm 139, if you'll go through it with me, very first, we start with this understanding as the writer writes, "O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up." The picture there, just that God knows every moment of your life. He knows when you'll rise, when you'll sit. Just a phenomenal concept. And this is the idea of God being omniscient, God being all-knowing. He knows every aspect of us. He knows everything of this world. In fact, it goes a little bit further. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down. So the picture that He even understands our thoughts, which even if we're honest with ourselves, we sometimes fully don't understand our thoughts. And He knows our future. He knows where we are to go. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, Lord, you know it all together. So a beautiful picture there of just God's all-knowingness. And once again, especially as we come into a new year, this should fill us with hope. It should fill us with peace. It should fill us with comfort in that God knows all things. Now, sometimes you may be asking the question, God, why didn't you let me know about this thing that was going to happen? Or God, why did you let this happen? Surely you know it. But we got to remember that God's thoughts are just so far beyond our thoughts. God is all-knowing. We could never understand what it means to be all-knowing. We barely understand how to know ourselves, and yet God is so much greater. So take comfort in that what He knows is good, and He will bring what is good. It takes it a step further in verse 7. Where shall I go from your spirit, or where shall I flee from your presence? Here we get the picture of that God is omnipresent, the idea of all present. Now we've got to be careful with this. It's not the idea that God is in everything. We don't believe that. We don't believe that God is in the bed, God is in the cupboard, God is in the lounge. But it's the idea that He is all present. Don't refine it, don't take it down to this idea of just space. You got to think broader than that. God is all present in the world, in time. He is just all present. Hence why in verse 8 you get, if I ascend to heaven or go down to Sheol, death, you are there. It's the pictures that we cannot flee from God. And I kind of like the way David puts that. I think there were times when David did want to flee from God, but it's just not possible. Verse 9, if I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, you get here the picture of speed, the picture of going at light speed almost is the idea here. Once again, you cannot flee from Him. Even there your hand shall lead me and your right hand shall hold me. A beautiful swing in the language there. One, it's where can I flee? And then here it's even your hand shall lead me, take me in the right direction. But then also your right hand shall hold me. Once again, we should draw comfort from the idea that God is all present. And we get that in the very next verses there where it speaks about even if we are covered by darkness, it is not dark to God. The next step is the idea of God's power. Verse 13, for you formed my inward part, you knitted me together in my mother's womb. Once again, a verse that we probably know quite well, but once again, understanding the intricate details that it is to create a human being. How amazing is that power? We could probably say, hey, my power is I can lift this amount of weight, or I am this fast, or whatever it is. We cannot say that we can create human beings. That is beyond us in the way that God creates. In fact, I spoke to a doctor once and they said it is a miracle that humans come out the way that they are. Because birth should bring about so many complications, and yet it doesn't. Now, yes, sometimes there are, but that the majority of people generally come out the way we are is a phenomenal event. And once again speaks about the miracle of childbirth, that people come out and can comprehend the world and comprehend God is a miracle. And that comes from God's power. I love verse 14. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. No matter who you are, no matter your struggles, no matter how you were created, realize that you were created by God and are wonderful because He created you. Verse 14 goes on, wonderful are your works, my soul knows it very well. Just a beautiful picture. And then verse 16, your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there were none of me. So once again, here we get a picture, one of God's power and how He creates, but also the idea of knowing the future. God is amazing. And reading this is just, you're blown away and should find comfort on how great God is. But there are two things that I would like us to take from this passage. First off, something that's exceptionally hard for I think any one of us to say, but something that we should go after in 2024, to be able to say verse 23, search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any grievance way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. That's quite a statement to make, to say to the God that you've just spoken about, a God who is all-knowing, a God who is all-powerful, a God who is all-present, search me, God. See if there's anything that I'm doing wrong. So that's number one, being able to say that. But secondly, verse 17, as we've read through the Psalms, I hope they've been amazing for you. I hope they've built you up. But we should remember that as the Psalms come into the scriptures are God's thoughts. And so to remember verse 17, how precious to me are your thoughts, O God. When we come back to verse 6, surely knowledge is too wonderful for me. We should take great joy in that we get to read God's scriptures. We should take great joy in getting to know God's thoughts, and they should be precious to us. And so as you go into 2024, let God's thoughts be precious for you. Have a wonderful week, ECF, and an enjoyable Christmas. Bye.